Dope, 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 let's get it. I'm a trapping fanatic, that shit automatic, so I cannot turn it on or off. Bitches all on my dick, then she hop on my dick, I'm like, why you keep hopping on and off? Yo, bitch all on my dick, she be doing the most. I tell her, little bitch, she so extra. And my gun up on me, but not run up on me. Niggas, they wanna fight, they some wrestlers.
A purple sphere of destruction is then formed as it then launches towards the Nomu, who tries to block the ability. A huge explosion of blinding light would happen soon after, and All Might turns his head to look at Izuku. He was just barely standing, with his arm still extended in that manner while it was bleeding. Izuku could barely keep his eyes open as he was truly exhausted in this moment. All he could see was a clear path and that there was no Nomu in sight. From his side, Shigaraki would try to jump out and attack him. However, before he could even grab him, he was shot. Multiple bullets would go through the villain as he then teleported back to his base. All Might looks over at Izuku, who now has his eyes closed. What an incredible quirk. He completely erased the threat. However, he did pass out while standing up. Truly commendable. Izuku awakens with the recovery girl by his side, along with Principal Nezu, All Might, and his homeroom teacher, Mr. Aizawa. He gets in trouble for his reckless actions, but then he's commended by All Might for his bravery and his strength. The principal then gets right down to business. Since Izuku was technically the only one to interact with the Nomu creature, they need to ask him some questions about it. What do you believe that strange creature was? From what I could sense, it didn't really feel human, but it did have some human quirks, if that makes sense. Can you explain that further? While I was fighting it, I managed to cut off one of its arms, but it quickly regenerated it. I also noticed it had a super speed quirk and also a super strength quirk. The Nomu also had a quirk that allowed it to absorb some of my powerful attacks upon contact. After the investigation, All Might had a pretty good idea of where this creature had originated. From an unknown location, we see a figure watching footage of Izuku fighting against a Nomu. What an incredible quirk. I've never seen one so versatile. I think I should add it to my collection. The school will be closed for a couple days and then reopened as usual, as the school days will continue on. Izuku walks into class and sits on top of his desk as usual. Bakugo waits for him to say something or ask him another question, but he doesn't. Izuku completely ignores Bakugo's presence. This only fuels his anger as he goes in to grab his shirt, but he's not able to. This is weird as Izuku wasn't even paying attention to him or even trying to activate his quirk. Somehow he was able to do it subconsciously. Izuku kicks him to the ground and then laughs. You're starting to annoy me now. Before Bakugo could retaliate, their homeroom teacher walks into the room. I hope you all are ready, because the UA Sports Festival is approaching. All the kids then begin to gossip, but Aizawa makes them quiet as he goes into further detail. Our sports festival is one of Japan's biggest events as it replaced the Olympics. And there will be thousands watching. This includes the pros. If you do get noticed by one of them, your future becomes even brighter. You only have one chance a year to prove yourselves, so a total of 3. If you truly wish to become a pro hero, you could not fail here. Who cares? The whole class then turns to Izuku, who pulls down his shades. I just want to show everyone in the world that I'm the strongest. The day goes on as normal, and when the bell rings for lunch, Izuku slides open the door to see a bunch of students outside of their classroom. Momo walks up behind him and explains why they might be here. I don't give a damn why they're here. They're just in my way, and I need to stay out of it. Izuku walks by, but then one kid with purple hair tries to stop him, but he wasn't even able to get close. He then goes to sit down to lunch with Momo and Uraraka, who tell him to be more careful with what he says. Izuku then starts to laugh at their comments. I thought you two would have realized it by now. Think back to the moment that I declared myself the strongest. How was the class reacting to that news? They seem pretty mad, right? That's the point. These negative emotions of jealousy and rage will birth a new power within them. Oh, so you said that to make us stronger. Pretty badass. The three then turn to see Kaminari and Jiro sitting down with them. Kaminari sits next to Izuku and tells him what the students from the other class had said after he left. He told Izuku that he would be the main target for the sports festival. Oh yeah, that reminded me. I gotta skip a couple days of school to finish some training at home. Momo then stands up, slamming her hands on the table. What do you mean a couple days? You have important work to finish up. Don't worry about it. You can handle it. After all, you're my vice president, right? She starts to blush, sitting down while agreeing. And from another table, Mineta was cursing Izuku for being so popular with the ladies while he wasn't. 2 weeks would go by in a flash as they would arrive to the day of the festival, where we go to see Class 1A in their waiting room. Izuku was laying down on some boxes in the room as he could feel someone near him. Izuku. Yes, Todoroki? You've managed to already get the attention of All Might because of your battle against the villain, right? Yeah, he said I had an impressive quirk. So what? That settles it then. I'm going to defeat you. Is that so? Well, get in line. What did you just say? I said get in line because there's a few people that already have that goal. It doesn't matter though, because at the end of the day, I alone am the strongest. Kaminari would get in between the two and hold Todoroki back from saying anything else, which causes Momo to sigh while walking over to Izuku. Did you at least go over the speech that we wrote? Of course I did. I have it memorized. Oh, thank goodness. I didn't want you to embarrass yourself and our class. The students would then begin to walk out as President Mike announces the sports festival. The UA Sports Festival, where heroes of the next generation aim for the top. We all know what the fans are here for. So let's get started with the class that was able to win their first encounter with villains. The freshman class of Class 1A. Eraserhead, since you were there, do you have any comments on their abilities? He sighs before grabbing the mic. If you think just because they're kids, that they're small fry and they won't amount to anything, you'll end up just like the villains who attacked them. President Mike then continues while looking down at the class. As they walk out, they're being led by their very own class president, Izuku Satoru, who was the most helpful in the villain attack, I might add. The hero Midnight stands before them and asks Izuku to give a speech to inspire his peers and those watching from their homes. Since he was the one to score the highest on the entrance exam, this is his duty, as it is tradition. Izuku then steps up, grabbing the mic. First of all, I'll congratulate all of you for making it this far, as it was no easy task. However, this is when you truly get to show off to everyone watching what's the difference between you and the people that stand next to you. I hope you all do great, as I only have 2 more things left to say. This is when Momo gets confused because the speech should have already ended at this point, something short and simple. To all of those villains that I know are watching right now, make sure you pay attention to the next #1 hero of Japan, me, Izuku Satoru. The crowd then cheers for this empowering speech, and Midnight will continue. Now we can begin with our first event, which will be an obstacle race. All 11 classes get to the starting line, and Izuku watches as the gates open. 3 students then take off in the front of the rest, Bakugo, Ida, and Todoroki. The three of them easily make it past the robots and the first part. But then, they see that Izuku has already crossed the second obstacle, and he is walking into the third. Todoroki would think to himself, just how is he able to pass me without being detected? No. How is he able to pass any of us? There's three of us. Did the other two not notice him as well? Izuku yawns as he walks through the minefield, and President Mike begins to comment. It seems none of the mines are going off. Are they defective? What do you think of this, Eraserhead? It might be hard for some of you viewers at home to tell, but right now, Izuku is using his quirk. Oh, so this is a quirk that he used to defeat the villains. Very powerful indeed, President Mike would comment. Izuku walks out first, way before anyone else, and he does it so casually as he sits down near the stage next to Midnight. She then holds a mic, congratulating him while asking him what he thinks of the festival right now. It bores me. I'm waiting for a true challenge to appear. As of now, I think of this as a warm-up. Izuku waits for another 15 minutes before everyone else would finally make it. A lot of pro heroes take note not only of his immense speed, but his quirk as well. Midnight then announces the next event to be a cavalry battle, and it's revealed that Izuku will be worth 10 million points, or the headband that he's wearing at least. As she explains the rules further, Izuku thinks about who should be on his team. Since I can only have 3 other teammates, I have to be really smart with who I pick. I think I'll go with my vice president for my first option, just due to loyalty, and her creation quirk is pretty amazing. After the rules are explained, Izuku walks up to Momo as she would agree, and they manage to get Uraraka and Tokoyami on their team. The cavalry battle then commences as instantly 3 teams go for Izuku. He jumps off of Tokoyami and steals their headbands before returning to his group. Bakugo then sneaks up behind him and tries to steal his headband, but he isn't even able to get close to it because of the limitless quirk. Izuku then punches him in the face, sending him flying back. Others would try, but the result would be the same, with Izuku's team coming in first, and Tokoyami notes how they didn't really do anything. That was the point. I didn't want you guys to work too hard in this event, as you need to save your strength for the final part of the festival. This way you can go all out. The matches are then revealed, as the first one will be Izuku versus Shinso. Izuku steps up to fight Shinso, and without a second thought, he knocks him out of the ring. Izuku then goes back up to watch the rest of the matches with his team or his class that congratulates him. He then notices who's going up next, as he walks closer to see what's happening. Make sure you guys pay attention to this match. I think right now Todoroki's gonna show off a little bit. Ida then stands up as he has to take a phone call at this time while the rest of the class watches Todoroki obliterate Sero. The rest of Class 1A has the same fights as they do in canon, as the second round matches are revealed, as the first one will be Izuku versus Todoroki. Izuku walks out of his waiting room and runs into Endeavor, the number 2 pro hero. That quirk of yours, how does it work? Izuku ignores him, which causes him to get angry and shout at the boy. Sorry, but I don't have any desire to have a conversation with a hero like you, as I'm not interested in your agency, so I'll pass. I think you'll like this fight though. It'll teach your son that he still has a long way to go. Izuku walks out to face Todoroki, who is waiting, and as the fight starts, Todoroki goes all out with his ice and sends it straight at Izuku. The ice spikes would stop right in front of him as he pulls down his shades and he looks at them. Pretty sharp. Todoroki then sends more ice, but Izuku was no longer standing in that very same spot. You know, you're probably the second strongest in our class. Todoroki swings behind him because Izuku was standing there. However, this attack is still dodged, and Izuku keeps evading while speaking to him. Your hair is pretty interesting to me as well, as I've gotten a theory about it. One side is red, while the other is white. So I assume you can use fire too, right? Todoroki is enraged by the thought of using his father's power to win this fight as he strikes Izuku with blinding rage. Izuku once again evades, but this time he slams his fist into the stomach of Todoroki, who flies across the arena. He coughs up blood while laying on the ground and slowly getting up, and Izuku continues his speech once again. You know, I think it's pretty cool you have two powers, and I don't really think there's a need for you to hold back at all. Really, just think about it. If you become a great pro hero by only using your ice quirk, imagine what you could do with your fire one as well. Just shut up already. I don't need his power, and I never did. Well, it sucks you think about that, because it's not really his power anymore. This is your quirk I'm talking about. I'm not talking about using your father's flames. Sure, he technically gave it to you, but it's your quirk, not his. Don't tell me this whole time you thought that using his fire quirk will make it feel like he was working through you. Heh, whatever. How about this? If you use both, I'll turn off my limitless here and just fight you for the rest of the match. Izuku throws his shades to midnight and rushes Todoroki. Ice comes flying right at him, but with blinding speeds, he dodges it, and then black and red lightning shatters this ice with ease. What the hell is this? He has another quirk as well? Izuku jumps to the edge of the stage and smiles. Laps blue. He then pulls Todoroki to the edge and slams him to the ground, knocking the wind out of him. Izuku then walks back to the center while Todoroki's head barely stays on the edge and he's barely conscious. As he was walking back, flames then shot up into the sky as well as ice shooting out to the side. He then turns around smiling, harnessing his cursed energy. Ice and flames begin to come right at him, but he dodges it and manages to get right behind Todoroki. He does a black flash right on his arm, breaking it and knocking him out of the ring. As soon as it was clear who won the match, the crowd began cheering for Izuku. The finals would of course be Izuku versus Bakugo, and as each fighter stepped up, Bakugo started the match aggressively as he launched himself at Izuku, who tried to grab his face, but it was dodged. That petty trick won't work this time. Bakugo then flies behind him, sending out a giant explosion. The smoke then clears as Izuku stands perfectly fine, but the ground under him was destroyed. Bakugo keeps trying to show off, using more explosions, as his rage and stamina were truly impressive. The battle then continues for another couple of minutes, before Izuku becomes truly bored of this situation as he kicks Bakugo, who then tries to come right back at him, but the pro heroes would step in his way, as it's explained to him that he was already launched out of the ring, meaning Izuku wins the tournament.